Hey, what's up, people? It's your boy Kurt the Jerk saying what up. I hope everybody's doing great. Today, we're going to break down the Donald Trump's interview that he did on Meet the Press. I think it was very informative. Some things, it was an eye opener, and I want you guys to break it down with me and tell me what you think about the interview. The interview is, to me, it's kind of like, I don't even want to get into it. I think I'm just going to put the interview on. We're going to let it speak for itself. That's what I'll do.
Donald Trump, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for being here. You are the first president since Grover Cleveland to win non-consecutive terms. Republicans now have control of the House and the Senate.
Right.
What do you plan to accomplish in your first 100 days in office?
Well, we're going to do something with the border, and very strong, very powerful. That'll be our first signal, and the first signal to America that we're not playing games. We have people coming in by the millions, as you know, and a lot of people shouldn't be here. Most of them shouldn't be here, but we have jails being emptied into our country. We have mental institutions from all over the world being emptied into our country. So we'll be doing that. We're going to be extending within that period, or as soon as we can, the Trump tax cuts, because you know they're coming due and they're very substantial for people, and it would be very I think it will anger a lot of people, frankly, if we don't get an extension of that. That's what led us to one of the greatest economies ever, and those two things are going to be very vital, very important. We're going to be focusing on crime in the cities, and we'll work with Democrat governors. Most of them are, as you know, if you look at the 25 worst places, they're just about all Democrat controlled cities and states. And we're going to be working with Democrat governors and Democrat mayors. And I look forward to doing it. But we have to do something about crime, and mostly in our cities. And we're going to have a lot of other things. We'll be working on nominations. We're going to still be working on some nominations. I think they're going very well. We have, for the most part, I think they're going extremely well. It looks like Pete is doing well now. I mean, people were a little bit concerned. He's a young guy with a tremendous track record, actually. Went to Princeton and went to Harvard. He was a good student at both, but he loves the military, and I think people are starting to see it. So we'll be working on his nomination along with a lot of others.
Okay, he's talking about Pete Hegseth from Fox News. He's a war veteran. Um, I don't think he had any major leadership role. And to be honest with you, to be Secretary of Defense, you should be somebody high-ranking officer, because the fact that you have more logistic training. And I think that's a very that's a very bad idea on Donald Trump's behalf to pick Pete for him to be Secretary of Defense when he got no experience. You know, you want somebody like a 4-star, five. You want somebody a high ranking officer in that position. It don't necessarily have to be military in nature, but it has to be somebody that has intelligent information, maybe a CIA agent or to something like that. But a guy like Pete, you know, and when I sat there and I said, you know what? Well, let me research Pete. I think, in my opinion, and that could be his opinion or opinions. I think he's radical. I think he's radical in his thinking. I think he thinks it very extreme. Um, and I'm like, I don't think I want somebody like him. I need somebody more even tempered, knowing when to handle situations when it's needed, but not somebody like Pete. I think he could pick a better person than that. And that's just my opinion. Tell me what your opinion down below. You know, click on it. Click like and subscribe. Share this with your friends and family. All right. Let's get back to the video.
We are going to delve into your nominations, but since you bring him up, do you still have confidence in Pete Hegseth?
Yes, I do. I really do. He's a very smart guy. I've known him through Fox, but I've known him for a long time. And he's basically a military guy. I mean, every time I talk to him, all he wants to talk about is the military. He's a military guy. I used to kid him about it. I didn't think he would be in this position where he may be, hopefully will be Secretary of Defense. But every time I was with him, he was fighting for soldiers, where he said some soldier was unjustly put in prison because they were really doing what they were taught to do in some cases. So, yeah, I think he's going to do fine.
The fact that there are these allegations against him, misconduct, sexual misconduct, heavy drinking, the fact that he said to some senators reportedly he'll stop drinking if
That's another thing too. Think about it. That is factual right now. They said that he has a drinking problem, and he's saying if he get the position, he's gonna stop drinking. Come on, Donald Trump. I know you know some better people than that. Like, come on, let's be realistic here, people. Let's be real. You're gonna pick a guy that has an alcoholic problem and he's ex-military, but he's just a war vet, but he's never had any type of leadership role, and he's a Fox News host, and he has a lot of radical views that I don't think align with American cores and values. We need somebody that's want to bring all people together, Democrats and Republicans. I get sick and tired of this left and right shit. This shit irritates me. We need to have a party for everybody. Like, you know what I'm saying? Pete is a horrible option. I think it's crazy. If he get that position, I just think it's really crazy, honestly. Well, we'll see what happens, right?
He gets this job.
Yeah.
Does that worry you?
No, I think that everybody has something that they can stop. Some people can stop eating. I'm lucky I'm not a drinker, but I could stop eating. And we all want to stop doing something. And if he said that, I mean, that's a nice thing to say. That's a good thing to say. Uh, but he's very respected. I can tell you, I know a lot of the people at Fox, they think he's fantastic. And the people that work with him, uh, really, they love him. So I think you're going to have somebody that's really terrific. And again, all he talked about with me, I said, you know, you're not really a television guy, even though he did very well, as you know, you're really a military guy. He said, I'm all about the military. And I told him, so he's,
It takes more to loving the military and loving the country to get that position. We need somebody with certain levels of leadership experience and logistical training that's been on the front lines, or actually not only, I mean, I'm not saying he haven't been on the front lines because he's a combat vet, so he obviously been on the front lines. But we need somebody with actual tactical experience where they're able to lead a command and stuff like that. And I don't think he possesses that quality. And if he does, I don't think he has enough time in the service to be able to possess that quality. We need somebody that's a career military person that's been in the service for 20 plus years. You know, you got a lot of these generals out here that fits that criteria a lot better. I prefer a general to be Secretary of Defense, in my opinion, than some Fox News host. No disrespect to him. And he also got sex scandal issues. Not saying that, you know, it's alleged, but just the idea that his resume is looking kind of messed up. He's an alcoholic, presumed to be alcoholic. You know, from the statements I'm hearing right now, he has a drinking issue. I don't think we need somebody to have drinking problems to be Secretary of Defense, or somebody that has potential sex scandal issues. He's too tainted. We need somebody that's started the bottom and worked their way to the top with no issues, no scandals, got the education, became a career patriot of their country and military and stuff like that. We need people like that. We don't need Pete. You know, if anybody disagree with me, give me your opinion why, because I don't think he's a good fit. There's plenty of other people. Even if you want to pick some Republicans, some Republican that some of the senates and stuff like that, or the House, anybody from there, there's some people there that's also ex-military that will probably be a better fit for that position than Pete. Pete is a little too radical, in my opinion. Tell me what you think about it.
he's making a lot of money at Fox. They're doing very well. And I said, you know, if for some reason you don't get this thing, you're not going to be able to go back. And all that money you're making, you can kiss it goodbye. He said, this is all about America. You know, he didn't say, well, let me think about it, let me discuss it. That's a very big risky thing he's doing when he goes and he says, I'm going to give up, you know, millions of dollars in order to possibly become the Secretary of Defense. A lot of people would say it's a great position. It's probably almost no greater position, but a lot of people would say, I have to think about it. He said, I don't have to think about it.
All right, we're going to delve into your cabinet picks a little bit later, but I want to delve into one of your signature promises on the campaign trail, which was to end inflation, to lower prices. You are now proposing tariffs against the United States' three biggest trading partners. Economists of all stripes say that ultimately consumers pay the price of tariffs.
I don't believe
Can
it.
you guarantee American families won't pay more?
I can't guarantee anything. I can't guarantee tomorrow, but I can say that if you look at my just pre-COVID, we had the greatest economy in the history of our country. And I had a lot of tariffs on a lot of different countries, but in particular China. We took in hundreds of billions of dollars, and we had no inflation. In fact, when I handed it over, they didn't have inflation for a year and a half. They went almost 2 years just based on what I had created. And then they created inflation with energy and with spending too much. So I think we will. I'm a big believer in tariffs. I think tariffs are the most beautiful word. I think they're beautiful. It's going to make us rich. We are subsidizing
I think
Canada to the
tariff's a
tune of
beautiful
over
word.
$100 billion a year.
Okay, let me stop the video right here. For anybody to understand what tariffs are, tariffs is something that the government, it's like a government tax on goods and services from other countries. Now, let me tell you something. You know who actually pays that? This is how it goes. You get your product from overseas, and let's explain why you get your product overseas, because a lot of stuff manufactured in America will be too expensive. The reason why we're able to get certain products very cheap is because the labor in other countries is much cheaper. So in order for us to get those products for cheaper, we have to outsource certain things. I'm not saying everything needs to be outsourced. Some things should be American made. We need to have American made goods. But for the most point, so inflation won't be out of control, some stuff need to come from overseas because their labor is a lot cheaper. So they're able to produce the product for a cheaper, and then they ship it over here from the business buys it, ship it over here, and then we pay for it. Now, if he do the tariffs like he said he will, what it's going to do is going to make consumers here pay more money for it. You know why? Because over there it's not going to pay it. What they're going to do is our private businesses out here is going to pay it, and that money goes to the government. And then what they're going to do is, since they paid it already, they're going to pass the cost to the consumer. They're going to say, you know what? Since we pay an additional $5 for this particular product, now you got to pay additional $5 for this additional product. That's what's going to happen. So tariffs is not always a good idea. Not at least on certain things, goods and services. I think it could be utilized in a good way, but I think the way he's going about it is 100% wrong. And a lot of economists back me up on what I'm saying. So I'm not just speaking out one side of the mouth or something like that. This is something that's been backed up by a lot of different economists, educators, and people that's in the market that understands.
We're subsidizing Mexico for almost $300 billion. We shouldn't be subsidizing. Why are we subsidizing these countries? If we're going to subsidize them, let them become a state. We're subsidizing Mexico, and we're subsidizing Canada, and we're subsidizing many countries all over the world. And all I want to do is I want to have a level.
Well, here's the thing. This is what he's failed to realize, and I think he doesn't have enough education on it. And I think his obligation of the people that's around him to educate him on why we don't want to do that to Mexico and why we don't want to do that to Canada. For one thing, 60 or 70% of our crude oil comes from Canada. That's where we have it. We get it from there. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people's under the impression that, okay, if we're going to drill more in America, that's going to equal affordable things. Everything's going to be much cheaper. No. There's private companies that benefit from more drilling in America. And guess what? Instead of them selling the oil to local gas stations out here, no, they send that overseas. That's what they do with the oil. But a lot of our oil come from Canada. So Canada could screw us up the same way we could screw them up. Now in Mexico has all the produce. A lot of the produce, you like vegetables and all that stuff, guess what? It comes from Mexico. So the whole thing is, you want to play with Mexico if you want to. Now we mess around and can't get avocado. It'd be the simplest things like that. A simple avocado in the morning when you wake up, avocado toast or whatever your daily value for your meal in the morning will be non-existent because he wants to throw tariffs on stuff. So I don't think it's a great idea. I think his economy plan sounds crazy. I think it's all, and this is just my opinion, I could be wrong, but I think this is all a snatch and grab just to make the government some money so they could do that tax break for the rich. And tell me if I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Fine.
Fast but fair playing field.
Sir, your previous tariffs during your first administration cost Americans some $80 billion. And now you have major companies from Walmart, Black & Decker, AutoZone saying that any tariffs are going to force them to drive up prices for their consumers.
I just said that.
How do you make sure that these CEOs, that these companies don't, in fact, pass on the cost of tariffs to their consumers?
They cost Americans nothing. They made a great economy for us. They also solve another problem. If we were going to have problems having to do with wars and having to do with other things, tariffs, I have stopped wars with tariffs by saying, you guys want to fight, it's great, but both of you are going to pay tariffs to the United States at 100%. And they have many purposes, tariffs, if properly used. I don't say you use them like a madman. I say properly used. But it didn't cost this country anything. It made this country money. And we never really got the chance to go all out because we had to fight COVID in the last part. And we did it very successfully. And when I handed it over to Biden, the stock market was higher than what it was just previous to COVID coming in. It was actually higher.
No, that's not true. That's not entirely true. Part of it is true, but part of it's not. The part is that it was a time that Donald Trump was doing too much talking, and his talking was lowering the stock market. Where and yo, you can research this. This is not me just running my mouth and just randomly speaking. You can actually do the research yourself. A lot of the Fortune 5 company CEOs wrote a letter to Donald Trump to tell him like tone it down about the rhetoric you're spewing because you're messing up our stock market. Now, right now, think about the stock market right now. The stock market is damn near crashing right now. It's doing horrible because it started good. Soon as he was get elected, now you see the stock market shift up. Everybody, cryptocurrency went up. Bitcoin, everything looking great. Now it's starting to tank a little bit. You know why? Because he's starting to talk about the tariffs, and everybody knows tariffs is going to affect the economy. There's no way around it. Think about it. Jerome Powell said that he's not really going to do too much cuts because before he was going to do a lot of cuts, cut the interest rate down in 2025. Now he changed that. He changed his model because he know that it might not be in a good. He might not be in a good position to cut things down when these tariffs is going to mess up the economy a little bit.
Tariffs are properly used, are a very powerful tool, not only economically, but also for getting other things outside of economics.
Well, again, prices did go up on some goods in your first administration, washing machines, tires. Will
Yep.
you punish CEOs?
Let me just explain to you. You mentioned washing machines. So you look at Whirlpool in Ohio. I got a call from Jim Jordan, one of the greats, congressman from Ohio. And he said, they're going out of business because South Korea and China are dumping washing machines into our country. And I put a 50% tariff on the washing machines coming in from China and South Korea. And Whirlpool and the companies that made washing machines, which are based in Ohio, largely based in Ohio, went through the roof. We saved thousands of jobs, tens of thousands of jobs. They were all going out of business because they were dumping washing machines. And when I put the tariffs on, they became successful businesses. No, it didn't. Not only didn't it cost people,
People,
made
do
our
your
country
research.
stronger and more powerful, and it kept jobs.
But how do you make sure that consumers don't wind up paying more? Will you punish CEOs who try to pass the cost of tariffs on to their customers?
Well, the market's going to take care of it. I mean, actually, the market takes care of it. And if it doesn't, we adjust it somewhat. But in the case of Whirlpool, or let's say companies that made washing machines, they were all being put out of business by the dumping from, in particular, South Korea and China. And when I put the tariffs on, very substantial tariffs, although peanuts compared to what people do to us, what countries do to us, it became a very, very powerful, successful company. Now, let's say I didn't do the tariffs. It would have gone out of business. You would have lost tens of thousands of jobs, and you don't include that in your equation. No, they make a lot of money. I'll go a step further. Tariffs are going to make our country rich. Tariffs are going to help us pay off $35 trillion in debt.
No, it's
Tariffs
not.
are going to make our country safe because China, as an example, doesn't want to play games with us if we're going to do tariffs on them. They don't want to play games. And we have a lot of games being played on us right now.
Well, I think, and that takes me to my next question.
Yeah.
Are you actually going to impose these tariffs, or are they a negotiating tactic?
Well, I'll give you an example. With Canada, and in particular Mexico, we have millions of people pouring into our country. You agree with that? I spoke with both. I spoke with Justin Trudeau In fact, he flew to Mar-a-Lago within about 15 seconds after the call ended. Yeah. It was at Mar-a-Lago. We were having dinner talking about it. I said, you have to close up your borders because they're coming in the northern border too a lot. Not like the southern border, but they're coming in the Canadian border a lot. And drugs are pouring in. Almost as importantly, drugs are pouring in. Maybe more importantly, drugs are pouring in at levels never seen.
Okay, I'm about to stop it right now because you know what he's gonna say. His talking point: drugs is pouring at levels you've never seen before. Well, anybody understand how drugs get in this country? It's not coming in illegal on a record number. 80% of the drugs that come into this country is coming through legally, not legally. I mean, people that's legal to be in this country. It's not coming through border jumpers and stuff like that. They're not coming in with record numbers of drugs because they know in the likelihood a lot of them gonna get caught anyway. It's people that's legally able to come to America, a lot of American citizens that go to those countries, get drugs, and they smuggle in here. That's how it's coming in here. Don't take my word for it. Do your research. It's just as simple as that. Simple research. You know what I'm saying? You could college or Google. You could just Google it if you want to, or look at comparing articles about this stuff because there's nothing I'm saying I'm lying about. You know, most of the drugs that come to this country illegally, especially fentanyl that's killing people, claim a lot of lives, is coming from legal people that's able to come into this country. So let's not believe the hype. You know, no disrespect to Donald Trump, but I'm just keeping it real with you guys.
Seen before, 10 times what we had. They're just pouring in. We can't have open borders. And I said to the president of Mexico and to Justin Trudeau, if it doesn't stop, I'm going to put tariffs on your country at about 25%. That's a very substantial tariff. And in both cases, but in the case where it was really visible, within 10 minutes after that phone call, we noticed that the people coming across the border, the southern border, having to do with Mexico, they were at a trickle, just a trickle. It was, in fact, I call the border. See, unlike my opponent, I do call the border a lot. And I said, how's the border looking today? They said, there's nobody here. They couldn't believe it. The military stopped these vast groups of people. You know, we call them caravans, but they had caravans of people and they largely stopped them. Now, they're going to have to continue that. But if they don't continue, and the other thing I told them is no more drugs. And I told that to China too. I had to deal with.
All right, let me stop. Oh, that's a bad. Let me fix
With
that real quick.
President
All right, let me fix that. That's all wrong. Here's what's gonna happen with the tariffs. If he constantly make our allies enemies, all they're gonna do is fall in the hands of China. Remember, China has the second largest economy in the world. They are looking to buy up anybody that's allies with us. The BRICS is getting powerful. The reason why the BRICS is getting powerful for many different reasons. But here, this situation is not making it any better. Him throwing tariffs and threatening Canada and threatening Mexico, and then he also recently they're talking about threatening Panama. You know, that's not in this video, but that's another video. I want you guys to do your research about it. Threatening Panama, talk about the canal is essential for American goods to get across and stuff like that. Now, here's the issue with that. You're threatening our allies. These are supposed to be our neighbors. Do you honestly think that they need it? They don't have to. All they have to do is just do business with China. That's gonna really mess us up, and that's gonna put us surrounded. All the people that are supposed to be our allies, he's attacking our allies, and that's why I have a problem with him. I'm speaking out against it. I hope you guys do your research on what I'm saying. He's attacking our allies. If you want to make the BRICS, which is a multiple countries currency, better, keep on attacking our allies, and they're all going to run to China. You know why? Because China is buying up everything. If you look at the Caribbean, China bought up Caribbean, Caribbean islands. They got Jamaica. They got so many different countries all over. They got Ethiopia and Africa. They got so many places right now. They're making sure that they give more loans than you could afford to pay back, so you can be in default to them and be in debt to them, so they can be able to manipulate your country's resources. So don't believe the hype. This is not a good idea. You can't go around doing that bully shit because it's going to backfire. Why? Because people going to go to China. That's going to make them run in the hands of our enemies much faster by doing stuff like this. Somebody to tell him that, yo. I swear.
She had the election been different. I'm going to be very nice because we don't have to get into an argument over 2020. But had the election been different, the result been different, we would have had China giving their maximum penalty, which is the penalty of death, to people that sent fentanyl into this country. But Biden didn't, unfortunately, finish that discussion up. I had an agreement with President Xi, who I got along with very well. We've had communication as recently as this week. And I had communication with him where they were going to give the death penalty to anybody sending drugs into the United States.
This week you had that conversation.
Not that conversation, but I had other conversations. Okay. But in the past, I've had that conversation.
Let me ask you about another aspect of the economy, sir, the minimum wage. The federal minimum wage has been $7.25 since 2009. There are 20 states that still have the federal minimum wage at $7.25. And I actually have a map. 19 of these states actually voted for you, sir.
God damn. $7.25 an hour. I don't care which state you live in. You might have to live in another country for $7.25 to make sense. That's crazy. We'll see what Donald Trump say about this one.
Hmm?
And you can see it right here. I don't know if you remember this, but during the debate in 2020, I asked you if you would raise the minimum wage. You said you would consider it. And so my question for you is, now that you are going back to the White House, for these 19 states that voted for you, are you going to raise the federal
It's a very low
wage?
number. I will agree. It's a very low number. Let me give you the downside, though. Yeah. In California, they raised it up to a very high number. And your restaurants are going out of business all over the place. The population is shrinking. It's had a very negative impact. But there is a level at which you could do it. Absolutely.
What is that level?
I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. I can say this. You have a lot of businesses that are open and thriving because of the lower minimum wage. If you raise it too much.
No. Basically, he don't got an answer for you because he has no intentions of raising the minimum wage. But to be fair, Democrats didn't raise the minimum wage either. The blue states has already been raising the minimum wages. If you look at all the blue states, already been doing stuff like that. But I'm talking about the red states because we all family, red or blue. No matter if you live in a red state or blue state, we're all family. We all family, some shape or form. We the human race. And the issue is that if you have a president, he's supposed to be a president for everybody, whether you're blue or red. It doesn't matter. That shit is colors. What is it, Crips and Bloods? Who cares about all that stuff? It's about how you're going to build up the economy. And right now, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm extremely disappointed in this interview right here. But let's continue watching, guys.
Much, and you understand this. If California went crazy, they went crazy, and the restaurants are closing all over. Many more people are hurt.
So I hear you saying, similarly to sort of what you said in 2020, will you consider it? Is this something you're going to look at?
I'd want to speak to the governors. And the other thing that's very complicated about minimum wages is places are so different. Mississippi and Alabama and great places are very different than New York or California. I mean, in terms of the cost of living and other things. So it would be nice to have just a minimum wage for the whole country, but it wouldn't work because you have places where it's very inexpensive to live, where a minimum wage, which is $8 or $9, might have very little effect because the cost of living in certain places is really low.
Before we move on to immigration, which I do want to talk about, the chairman of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, said he will not leave his post even if you ask him to. Will you try to replace Jerome Powell?
No, I don't think so. I don't see it, but I think if I told him to, he would. But if I asked him to, he probably wouldn't. But if I told him to, he would.
You don't have plans to do that right now?
No, I don't.
Okay, let's talk about mass deportation, one of your big agenda items. You've talked about prioritizing people who have criminal histories.
Correct.
But is it?
I ain't gonna lie, no disrespect. See, I'm American, so this doesn't have nothing to do with me. But I'm just curious how people that's just citizens of America, but slightly they just barely became citizens, and they got family that's some of them are migrants and some of them are like illegals and stuff like that, voted for Donald Trump to get rid of the bad guys, when in reality, when you scooping up a group of people, you're going to scoop up some good, you're going to scoop up some bad. And if anybody knows about scooping up good and bad people at one time, it's black people from the hood. Because we know Any given day, if they're doing a sweep, they might pick up with some of the good guys. It's just how it is. So, do you honestly think it's going to be that organized where they're only going to pick people that have criminal records? No, they're going to pick up anybody. Even the guy that he got appointed that's going to be the voter, the what is it, the czar? He's going to be the border czar. He's going to he said that he's not going to separate families because he realized that was an issue. They was talking about separate families before, and they realized that was a problem. You can't be separating families and stuff because now you got a lot of displaced kids. So he said, well, if they're born here in America, but both of their family members, their parents is from another country, then you know what? We'll deport them as a group. The whole family can go out one time. So it's crazy, man. But let me get back to the video. I just was like, whoa. For anybody that voted, I mean, everybody vote for their own interest, but if you foreign, I don't think Donald Trump is the guy you should vote for. That's kind of dumb. If you're American, okay, cool.
Is it your plan to deport everyone who is here illegally over the next 4 years?
Well, I think you have to do it, and it's a very tough thing to do. But you have to have, you have rules, regulations, laws. They came in illegally. The people that have been treated very unfairly are the people that have been online for 10 years to come into the country. And we're going to make it very easy for people to come in terms of they have to pass the test. They have to be able to tell you what the Statue of Liberty is. They have to tell you a little bit about our country. They have to
I don't even know what that is.
They can't come out of prisons. We don't want people that are in for murder. So we had 11,000 and 13,000 different estimates, 13,099 murderers released into our country over the last 3 years. They're walking down the streets. They're walking next to you and your family, and they're very dangerous.
The 13,000 figure, I think, goes back about 40 years.
No, it doesn't. No,
That
it's within the 3-year
13,000
period. It's
figure.
during the Biden term. No, that was a fiction that they put that out. This was done by the Border Patrol. It's 13,099. It's during the Biden period of time.
Man.
And these are murderers.
I love it.
Many of whom murdered more than one person. You don't want those people in this country.
But you're saying something, sir, that's significant. I just want to make sure I'm clear, which is that you're saying, yes, you're going to focus on the people with criminal histories, but everyone who's here illegally has to go.
I'm saying this. We have to get the criminals out of our country. We have to get people that were taken out of mental institutions and put them back into their mental institution, no matter what country it is. Do you know that Venezuela, their prisons are at the lowest point in terms of emptiness that they've ever been? They're taking their people out of those prisons by the thousands, and they're drunk. And just to get back, because I know exactly what you're getting at. Number one, we're doing criminals, and we're going to do them really rapidly. We're getting the worst gang probably with MS-13 and the Venezuela.
Okay, so people look at the latest numbers on how much it was estimated for you to do a mass deportation, as Trump stated. It's going to cost hundreds of billions of dollars, and it's going to put us more in a deficit, and it's actually going to cause inflation. How many people are aware that migrants or the people that come here contribute to the American tax system? And the billions of dollars, 56 or 58 billion dollars they contribute. Around 50-something billion dollars. Okay, so some of them come here, they take resources, but the minute they're able to work, they go to work, because that's they pretty much are trained from their country. They come here, and their country, you got to work for everything. If you don't kill it, you don't eat it. So they have that mentality. So when they come to this country, they're not trying to stay on the system. They're trying to go out there and make money and do whatever they can do. I mean, some of them are in the system. Let's be realistic here, but for the most part, they go out there and work. Perfect example. When I was in New York, I was driving. I was in the Bronx, and I was coming from a place, and I was driving to Jersey. And when I was driving to Jersey, I see a white guy, I see a black guy, and I see a Mexican. I see the white guy have a sign up saying he's a veteran begging for money, and I see a black guy saying that asking for handouts. But you see the Mexican lady, she had mad stuff. She had goods and services. Like she had fruit salads, not fruit salad. I'm talking about like all kinds of chopped up fruits, and she was trying to hand it out for service. And she also had like sodas and Gatorades and stuff like that. So she was actually trying to do some kind of business, when you got the two Americans, I'm presuming that the American, the black and white guy, they from here, but they out here begging. That's the psychology, you know. It's scary. But let's get back to the video. This is entertaining.
Venezuelan gangs are the worst in the world. They're vicious, violent people. And you see what they've done in Colorado and other places. They're taking over, literally taking over apartment complexes and doing it with impunity. They don't care. They couldn't, they just are, they're in the real estate business.
You know, the local police say that is not the case in Colorado.
Oh, it's
but
totally the case. I mean,
you don't believe the local police.
I play it. I used to play it at my rallies every single night. No, they're breaking into doors. They're taking over the building.
But sir, you
And by the way,
raised the point.
the police are afraid to do anything.
You raised the point that the logistics are complicated. You said
Sure
it
they
yourself.
are,
You would
but
need
everything's
24
complicated.
Yeah, you mean you need 24 times more ICE detention capacity just to deport 1 million people per year, not to mention more agents, more judges, more planes. Is it realistic to deport everyone who's
You have
here
no
illegally?
choice. First of all, they're costing us.
That's
a
going to
fortune.
cost billions
We're
of
starting with
dollars,
the
remind you.
criminals, and we got to do it. And then we're starting with others, and we're going to see how it
Who are
goes.
the others?
Others are other people outside of criminals. We have convicted murders. We don't mean people that are even on trial. We have people that have murdered numerous people are on our streets and in our farms, and we have to get them out of our country.
What about dreamers, sir? Dreamers who were brought to this country illegally as children. You said once back in 2017, they, quote, shouldn't be very worried about being deported. Should they be worried now?
The dreamers are going to come later, and we have to do something about the dreamers because these are people that have been brought here at a very young age, and many of these are middle-aged people now.
This is why I'm so confused by anybody that's not from this country voted for Donald Trump. No disrespect to anybody that's American. If you're American, you voted for Trump, fine, that's cool. But if you're not American, how do you vote for a guy that's trying to get rid of you, or if not you, your family? That is dumb. I'm entertained. Hey, it ain't no punches throw this way. I'm good with it because I'm born here. So it is what it is. But I just think it's silly. But I don't know. Y'all talk about, oh, you're gonna get rid of the bad guys in the country. No, that's not how it works. They're gonna scoop everybody up. And as a black man, you know what that feels like. If you're in a neighborhood that has a high crime rate, you know they don't just scoop up bad people. They scoop up good people too. They scoop them up. They may release some, but this is how it works. You're gonna get caught up in the system. So just to think, our mass deportation, remind you, it costs billions of dollars. It's gonna cause a company. It's gonna cause a country in a deficit. And if you go on the farms and get rid of all these people that's making our produce, because remember, I'm not picking no cotton. But you know, cotton, they got a cotton machine and people's actually working out there in the farms doing this work. They don't look like me no more. They look like they Mexican. Some of them Mexicans, some of them Venezuelans. Those are people that's doing that kind of work. So if you like produce, you like vegetables, and you say, oh, I'm going to go to Whole Foods and get me all this stuff. Guess what? If they get rid of all these people that work on these farms, we're going to have to all eat at McDonald's because there ain't going to be no vegetables for nobody. But let's play the video, guys.
They don't even speak the language of their country. And yes, we're going to do something about the
What does
dreamers.
that mean?
And
What are you going to do?
I will work with the Democrats on a plan. And if we can come up with a plan, but the Democrats have made it very, very difficult to do anything. Republicans are very open to the dreamers. The dreamers, we're talking many years ago, they were brought into this country, many years ago. Some of them are no longer young people. And in many cases, they become successful. They have great jobs. In some cases, they have small businesses. Some cases, they might have large businesses. And we're going to have to do something with them. And
You want them to be able to stay. That's what you're saying.
I do. I
Okay.
want to be able to work something out. And it should have been able to be worked out over the last 3 or 4 years. And it never got worked out. You know, Biden could have done it because he controlled, Congress to a certain extent, right? He could have done something, but they didn't do it. I never understood why, because they always seem to want to do it, but then when it comes down to it, they don't. I think
Now, people, you need to do your policy. You do your policy research. I'm not going to give you everything. I'm not a walking encyclopedia. I don't have all the laws and all the information in front of me because I got a computer where I can look at the stuff. But no, I want you guys to do your research so it can be more authentic. I don't want to show you anything and you be like, oh, that's fake news. Do your research. The Democrats did try to do something about the Dreamers and see what happened from there. Just look at your, you know what I'm saying, and remind you, I'm not Democrat or Republican. I'm more like an independent. Independent. Whoever whoever lines up with my values is who I vote for. I don't vote for just Democrat or just vote for somebody because they're Republican. I'm not MAGA. I'm not Democrat. I'm not none of that stuff. I'm about who's speaking and who's singing the right song at the moment. That's what I vote for. Because I think a lot of these politics is bullshit anyway. Let's be realistic here. They don't do half the shit when they get in office. But let me play the video.
We can work with the Democrats and work something out.
Let me ask you about another group of people, the estimated 4 million families in America who have mixed immigration status. So I'm talking about parents who might be here illegally, but the kids are here legally.
This is the part I was talking about.
Separation.
Yeah, well, I mean, there are two aspects
Watch
of this.
this part.
Czar Tom Homan said they can be deported together.
Correct.
Is that the plan?
Well, that way you keep those. Well, I don't want to be breaking up families. So the only way you don't break up the family is you keep them together and you have to send them all back.
Even
Oh, shit.
kids who are
Hold on, people.
Well, what you going to do if they want to?
Did you hear what he said? He said, I don't want to separate them. Remember I told y'all before? And he basically saying exactly what his border czar said. He said, I'm not going to break families up no more. I realized that was an issue back then. That's what the border czar said, that people was uproar about we breaking families up. So you know what? We're going to deport the whole family together. Even if one of them was American born, but both of his parents is from a foreign country, we're going to deport them together as a group. Y'all heard it from the horse's mouth. Tell me it's fake news now. I just find it funny that anybody that's not from here voted for him. I'm from here, so it's all good.
To stay with the father. Look, we have to have rules and regulations. You can always find something out like, this doesn't work, that doesn't work. I'll tell you what's going to be horrible. When we take a wonderful young woman who's with a criminal and they show the woman, and she could stay by the law, but they show the woman being taken out, or they want her out and your cameras are focused on her as she's crying, as she's being taken out of our country. And then the public turns against us. But we have to do our job. And you have to have a series of standards and a series of laws. And in the end, look, our country is a mess. We have the highest crime rate. And during the debate, a man whose ratings have gone way down, David Muir, said to me, no, crime is, because I had to debate 3 people, not one. Debating one was easy. Debating 3 was actually pretty easy too, if you want to know the truth. But David Muir said, the crime rates have gone down. I said, no, they've gone up. And then the following day, they released the crime rates and they were way up.
Yeah, and the FBI statistics are, you're talking about those FBI statistics.
Well, no, but he gave the wrong answer.
Confusing based on what you're looking at.
But a lot of that is migrant crime.
Let me ask you about another aspect of this.
Kristen, a lot of it's migrant crime.
Well, let me ask you about another aspect of this that I think a lot of people are really curious about. I mean, 3% of the people who are here illegally have criminal histories. But in your first administration, you had the zero tolerance policy where we did see family separations.
Yeah.
You ended it. The purpose of that, though, to some extent, and you talked about this at the time, was deterrent.
You also had it with Obama. You do know that.
He didn't have a zero tolerance policy.
And you also know he built the jails for children.
He didn't have a zero tolerance policy.
But in 2014, he built the jails. You know that.
I want to ask you about the zero tolerance policy. I mean, he didn't have a systemic, we're going to separate families. Families were separated when parents were a threat to the kids.
We don't have to separate a family.
This.
Excuse me, Kristen.
Yeah.
We don't have to separate families. Yeah. We'll send the whole family very humanely back to the country where they came. That way the family's not separated.
So,
like I said, did you hear what he said? He said it at least 3 to 4 times right now in this video, stating that we're not going to separate families. We're going to send the whole family back. Like I said before, for all the people, especially you know what killed me the most? When I was talking to a lot of people that's not from here, not from this country, they were saying, oh yeah, because of migrants and the migrants. I'm sitting saying, bro, you're not from here either, nigga. You got a freaking a citizenship now, but you ain't from here. You ain't freaking born here. You make it seem like these people are so like not you. These are your peoples, bro. Like what the hell? How you can be so insensitive? It's confusing to me. And then saying, oh, and then some of these people on here on a green card, on a visa, and they talking about, oh, we gotta get rid of them. I'm like, yeah, I said, y'all brains. I don't know what to say. Hey. Like I said, it doesn't affect me, so I'm just gonna sit back and watch. I'm gonna put sunglasses on and just watch the show. that Donald Trump is going to display for everybody that's not from this country that voted for him. So we'll see what happens.
No more family separations. You're not
Well,
reviving
it
the
depends
zero
on the
tolerance
family. The
policy.
family may decide to say, I'd rather have dad go, and we'll stay here. And in which case they have that option.
But you're not going to revive your zero tolerance policy, which was put in place as a deterrent. Is there any universe where you would bring that back, sir?
We need deterrence. Look, ready? When somebody comes here illegally, they're going out. It's very simple. When they come here illegally, they're going out. Now, if they come here illegally, but their family is here legally, then the family has a choice. The person that came in illegally can go out, or they can all go out together.
So, but
And that was made very clear by Tom Homan.
so you're not at this.
I'm gonna let
point in
this
time
video play.
going
I'm
to
not. I'm.
revive
I'm,
that
I'm
zero
gonna take my
tolerance
face
policy.
off it
Is
for a
there-
minute.
Well, if you call that,
Separate
yeah,
it.
I'm doing what I just told you I'm going to do. You know, I don't want to send the family out. I don't want to send anybody out. But I'll tell you, we have to, because otherwise we have no country. If we don't have borders, and if we don't have voting, good voting, fair voting, do you know they're still counting votes in San Diego, California? Listen, they're still counting the votes. This is almost 4 weeks. They're still counting the votes. If we don't have fair elections and honest voting and machines that work quickly, you know, if you had paper ballots, every election would be over by 10 o'clock in the evening.
So let me ask you.
You understand what I'm saying?
Let me before we get
And
to
you get a much more accurate count.
before we get to all of that. Let me ask you about some of your other promises on this topic. You've
Okay.
promised to end birthright citizenship
Yeah.
on day one. Is
Yeah.
that still your plan?
Yeah, absolutely.
The 14th Amendment, though, says that, quote, all persons born in the United States are citizens. Can you get around the 14th Amendment with an
Well, we're going to
executive
have to
action?
get a change. We'll maybe have to go back to the people, but we have to end it. We're the only country that has it.
Through an executive action?
You know,
you're
we're
gonna
the only country that has it. Do you know, if somebody sets a foot, just a foot, 1 foot, you don't need to, on our land, congratulations, you are now a citizen of the United States of America. Yes, we're going to end that because it's ridiculous.
Through executive
know,
action? You'll
We,
just-
well, if we can, through executive action. I was going to do it through executive action, but then we had to fix COVID first, to be honest with you. We have to end it. It's ridiculous. Do you know we're the only country in the world that has it? Do you know that? There's
Well,
not one other country.
What about the legal
Do you know
challenge,
we're
inevitable
also-
legal
well, that's the other
challenges
thing.
that'll
Do
come?
you know we have thousands of judges? Somebody walks onto our land, and we have to now say, welcome to the United States. They could be a criminal or not a criminal. We release them into our country. It's called catch and release. We release them into our country. Wait just 1 second. And now they get them lawyers. And the lawyers are good lawyers. And everybody has a lawyer. And do you know how many judges we have? Thousands, thousands. Now, here's what other countries do. They come into the land and they say, I'm sorry, you have to go. And they take them out. Okay. With us, once they touch our land, we're into litigation that lasts for years, costs us hundreds of billions of dollars. We have judges, and I'm sure they're all honest, but I don't know that for a fact. You can imagine what's going on with the judges. But just so you, because I have a lot of judges. I tell you what, I know more about judges than any human being in history. Look, we have judges. Every time somebody puts 2 feet or even 1 foot on a piece of our land, it's welcome to long-term litigation. Other countries, every other country, when somebody walks on and they see that they're here illegally, they walk them off, they take them back to where they came from. We have to get rid of this system. It's killing our country.
Let's talk about health care. I've been talking to Republican lawmakers on Capitol Hill. They say it's no longer feasible to repeal and replace Obamacare because it's so entrenched in the system. Do you see it that way? Is that now off the table, repealing and replacing
when John
Obamacare?
McCain let us down by voting, and Murkowski and Collins and whoever it was that voted against, but they really let us down. They did us a great disservice because we would have had great health. Obamacare is lousy health care. It's very expensive health care for the people. It's also expensive for the country, but for the people, it's lousy health care. When John McCain gave his thumbs down after saying for 10 years that he wants to repeal and replace, okay? And then he came out, put his now famous thumbs down, and he became a hero to the left. Let me tell you, if we find something better, I would love to do it. But unless we find, but one thing I have to say, I inherited Obamacare or anything else you want to go. It's got about 20 names, but I inherited it. And I had a decision to make with Health and Human Services. I had a big decision to make. Do I make it as good as we can make it, or do I let it rot? And a lot of political people said, let it rot and let it be a failure. I said, that's not the right thing to do. And I had very good people in the medical area that handled that. And I said, what do you want to do? He said, we really have an obligation to make it as good as we can. And we did. We made it as good as we can make it. Instead of making it bad where everybody would be calling for its repeal, I made it so that it works. Now,
But you
it
did
works.
try to overturn it,
It's
sir.
it's
You did
lousy.
try to overturn it. You
No,
did
no.
have your Justice Department try to direct the Supreme Court to
No, we
overturn
got a little bit of a surprising opinion, to be honest with you. If it would have been overturned, we would have had much better health care right now. But right now, we have something that I made the best of. I could have made the worst of it, and it would have fallen by the wayside. I did the right thing from a human standpoint. But, you know, I'm sort of proud of my decision. At the same time, sometimes I regret it. I told the people, and I gave them the money to do it. I said, fix it, make it work, because people would have suffered. But it's too bad that they voted no. I wish John McCain, I wish he fought for 10 years on replacing Obamacare for 10 years, and then he voted against. Nobody understands it.
Sir, you said during the campaign you had concepts of a plan. Do you have an actual plan at this point for health care?
Yes, we have concepts of a plan that would be better.
Still just concepts? Do you have a fully developed plan?
Let me explain. We have the biggest healthcare companies looking at it. We have doctors. We're always looking because Obamacare stinks. It's lousy. There are better answers. If we come up with a better answer, I would present that answer to Democrats and to everybody else, and I do something about it. But until we have that, or until they can approve it, but we're not going to go through the big deal. I am the one that saved Obamacare, I will say, and I did the right thing. I could have done the more political thing and killed it, and all I had to do is starve it to death.
You did try to have your Justice Department effectively kill it, though,
No.
sir.
Kill it from a legal standpoint, but from a physical standpoint, I made it work.
In your concepts of a plan, sir, will people with pre-existing conditions still have coverage? And can you guarantee their prices will not go up?
The answer is yes. They'll have coverage. You have to have it.
And what about their
Because
prices?
you know what?
What about their prices, sir?
I want the prices to go down. I want to have better health care for less money. And there are ways of doing it, I believe. And I have the smartest people in that world. You know, that's a separate world unto itself. I have the smartest people in that world looking at it and trying. And if they come up with something, I will present it. Now, maybe you won't be able to sell it, but if we get better health care for less money, I believe it's very saleable.
Just very quickly, when will we see your fully developed plan? When are you going to show
I don't know
the
that you'll
public
see it at all. I can only say that we have some of the best healthcare people. I've always tinkered with it. I think it's a little hard to explain. Obamacare, when I took it over, was a disaster. And I made it
It has insured
workable.
20 million people.
Yeah, because of me. Because of me. If you look at what I did, I made it good.
You
Yeah,
tried to
legally.
repeal and replace.
Let me tell you something, guys. Do your research. He tried to get rid of Obamacare like a lot of times. I don't know the exact number. I want to just throw numbers out there. But I remember it was quite a few times. So for somebody that care about the American people, in my opinion, this is all opinion. You know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, it's facts as far as him trying to get rid of it without even having an actual plan. You know what I'm saying? Okay, you could say the Obamacare suck and there's a lot of things they could have done better. All right, fine. I could agree with you with that. Okay, cool. So where's your plan at? Why you didn't present your plan first before you try to get rid of it? The whole idea is that you was trying to get rid of it, and if you would have got rid of it, a lot of people would have had no health care coverage. You know why? Because Obamacare was allowing people with pre-existing conditions to have health insurance. That's what Obamacare was good for. So it was. I think it could have been better, but it was good. So if you was going to do something better, why wouldn't you not present your plan first and then try to pass it over? Because I'm pretty sure even Barack Obama, and I'm not a fan of him, but he even said, if you could find a better plan than the one that I got in play right now, I will personally vouch for you. So, I mean, come on. He just want to get rid of it because he's doing the bidding of corporations, Big Pharma. And if I'm wrong, prove me wrong. Talk is cheap.
Lacy, you tried
Because
to
if
kill
I
it,
repealed
sir.
it and replaced it, we would have had a better system because we wouldn't have had health care. And the Democrats would have been forced to do something. If we wouldn't have had it, the Democrats would have been forced to do something that they wouldn't do if we have it.
Let me ask you about another aspect of healthcare. You talked about this on the campaign trail,
Right.
IVF. You promised free IVF for all who want it, either through the government or through mandates with insurance companies. I've been hearing from Republican senators, some of them, who say they're not going to support that plan. How are you going to get that passed?
Well, we're going to see. We want them to pay, ideally, the insurance companies to pay for it, the fertilization. I came out very early for a Republican, especially, and I think they were looking for my guidance, my great wisdom, right? They were looking for it. And I got a call from Katie Britt, who's a terrific person, senator from Alabama. And she said, sir, we just had a really negative ruling from a judge in Alabama, conservative judge, that all of these clinics had to be closed. And she said, and she went into great detail, and she said people are devastated over it. And after literally speaking to her for 5 minutes, I issued an order, really an order in a sense. And it was a statement from the Republican Party that we are all for IVF and fertilization. Okay. The Alabama legislature met the following day and passed it. It was a beautiful thing to see. And I consider myself to be the father of IVF in a certain way. And the Republicans were very strong on the issue.
But, sir, I want to understand where it falls in your list of priorities. I mean, is this something we can expect to see you try to move on in the
Well,
first 100 days?
we're going to be talking about it, and we're going to be seeing. We have a lot of other things. I have tax cuts. You know, we'll be submitting in either the first or second package to Congress the extension of the tax cuts. So that might very well be in there, or it'll come sometime after that.
Let's talk about abortion, sir. You have taken responsibility for overturning Roe v. Wade. You've said that abortion is now a state issue. There are steps that you could take, though, as president to restrict abortion through executive action without Congress. More than half of abortions in this country are medication abortions. Will you restrict the availability of abortion pills when you're in office?
I'll probably stay with exactly what I've been saying for the last 2 years, and the answer is no.
You commit to that.
Well, I commit. I mean, do things change? I think they change. I hate to go on shows like Joe Biden. I'm not going to give my son a pardon. I will not, under any circumstances, give him a pardon. I watched this, and I always knew he was going to give him a pardon, and so I don't like putting myself in a position like that. So things do change, but I don't think it's going to change at all.
Okay. Let's talk about some of your picks to fill out your administration. You named Kash Patel to be the next FBI director.
Kash
He has a
Patel.
list in his book of 60 people that he calls members of the so-called deep state. It includes Democrats like Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton. It includes former members of your cabinet, from Bill Barr to Christopher Wray. You campaigned on destroying the deep state. Do you want Kash Patel to launch investigations into people on that list?
No, I mean, he's going to do what he thinks is right.
Do you
And I
think
will
that's right?
tell you,
Do you think that's right, sir?
if they think that somebody was dishonest or crooked or a corrupt politician, I think he probably has an obligation to do it. But
Are you going to direct him to do it?
no, not at all. Not at all. We have two great people there. We have him and we have Pam. And Pam Bondi has been like a rocket ship. She's very popular and very good and very fair. And Kash Patel is very fair. I'll tell you, I thought Kash may be
Kash
difficult
Patel is a
because
nut
he's,
job.
you know,
I'll say that.
strong,
My opinion.
conservative voice.
Do your
And I
research
don't
and
know
you'll
of
come to the same
anybody that's
conclusion.
not singing his praises. The other day I was watching, and Trey Gowdy, who's a moderate person and very smart and very respected in the party, he's Kash's biggest fan. He said, this is the most misunderstood man in politics. He's great. I guess they worked together on the Russia hoax or something. And Trey Gowdy became a fan. You know Trey Gowdy. Everybody respects him. And, you know, just like him, others also. I don't know of one negative vote. I don't think he's going to have any negative votes.
Is it your expectation, though, that Kash Patel will pursue investigations against your political enemies?
No, I don't think so.
Do you want to see that happen?
If they were crooked, if they did something wrong, if they have broken the law, probably they went after me. You know, they went after me, and I did nothing wrong.
Well, let me ask you this. You said President Biden